Good morning, students. Welcome to Zoology webinars for second year of model schools. Children, we have covered so many chapters, isn't it? So this time we have come up with a very good and very interesting topic, that is about the immune system. Why we have to know about the immune system? All these days, did you go to school? No, isn't it? We missed schools, we missed colleges, we missed malls, isn't it? We missed entertainment, we missed everything. Why? Because worldwide pandemic was there, isn't it? So what is the connection between this pandemic and the immune system? So who has to protect if some, like suppose, like we know that this coronavirus is a new virus, like we didn't know previously. It was there in the other variant forms in few animals we could see, but for the humans it was the first time, isn't it? So if any new organism or any foreign attack our body, is our own body has a resistance or a power to resist so that it should not enter, or whether it can fight or not. So all these things will be learning technically in this session. Okay, we welcome Manoj Kumar sir from Mehboobabaad districts. Sir is known to you. Please children, before the session start, please write the running notes, as you all are maintaining the zoology webinars notebook, isn't it? So please start writing along with this sir's session. Manoj Kumar sir, good morning.
Thank you, madam. Good morning.
Yes, please take over the session, sir.
Okay, madam. Thank you. Good morning, students. Welcome back to second year zoology webinar session. So, students, as already madam has introduced the topic, so let me start the part 1 of immune system. Students, from the past 8 to 10 months, the entire world is shut down. Even you don't have schools, isn't it? You're not going to schools. You do not have the classroom teaching, isn't it? So you're all watching the online classes, the webinar sessions, isn't it? In your smartphones, in your TVs, isn't it? Now, during these days, so there is one word which is very, very popular. Yes, immunity is perhaps one of the most discussed topics during this time of COVID-19 pandemic. Students, have you observed this? Immunity is perhaps one of the most discussed topics during this time of COVID-19 pandemic. You know, the entire world is suffering from this novel coronavirus. Many people have been infected by this coronavirus. Yet, some persons are not showing any symptoms, isn't it? Many of us, some persons who are around us, though they are infected with this coronavirus, yet they are not showing any symptoms. That means they are asymptomatic, as they are not showing any symptoms of this coronavirus. So now they are called as asymptomatic. You just think why this is happening, whereas many others are suffering with a lot of a variety of symptoms, isn't it? So some people, those who are infected with this coronavirus, are not showing any symptoms, while many others are showing symptoms, and uh, they are suffering a lot. They are worstly affected. Some of them are hospitalized, and even we have seen even deaths are occurring due to this coronavirus. Why this difference? Why some people are not showing symptoms? Okay, though they are affected with coronavirus, they look very normal, healthy, isn't it? So what is the difference? Why this is happening? Yeah, let me explain you this. So in biological world, each and every organism has some kind of immune system, some kind of immunity, isn't it? By birth, that is called as innate. So by birth, in this biological world, each and every organism, all multicellular organisms have some kind of immune system. Okay, so now what is happening, especially in mammalian immune system? So though some persons are affected by this coronavirus, why they are not showing any symptoms, that clearly means that their immune system is fighting against this coronavirus. This is as simple as the students see. Their immune system is fighting internally in their body. Their immune system is fighting against this coronavirus, and because of this fighting, because of the upper hand of the immune system over the coronavirus, so those people who are affected with corona, yet they are not showing any symptoms. So this is very clear that their immune system is very, very good, or they are so strongly immune persons. So this is how you can explain why some people are not getting affected by this coronavirus. So what does this clearly mean? The immune system play a crucial role. The immune system play a crucial role fighting against this corona. Not only this corona, the immune system play a very crucial role fighting against all kinds of pathogens, all kinds of harmful microorganisms that invade our body, that enter into our body, and that might do harm to our body, that may cause diseases. So what are these harmful microorganisms? What are these pathogens? These pathogens might be bacteria, viruses, fungi, or any protozoan parasites, or it can be a dust particle or anything, any chemical, okay? So which enters into your body and which might do damage, or which might cause a disease to your body, to your healthy body, okay? So all such things that enter into your body are generally called as foreign particles or foreign bodies, which are technically called as antigens. So now our immune system will fight against all these foreign bodies that enter into our body, giving protection. So what does this immune system do? This immune system will fight against those foreign bodies that enter into our body and protect our body. And the people who are strong, who has a strong immunity, the persons who have strong immunity are generally, they are unaffected. They are unaffected. So let us understand this with some more slides. So students, if you look at this picture, see, in our everyday life, we are exposing to a large number of infectious agents, isn't it? So we drink water, we inhale air, we eat food. So don't you think that all the air we are inhaling is very pure and clean, and all the water that is drinking by us is so clean or so pure? Sometimes we visit some other places, and at that places we may not get a pure or clean drinking water, but still we drink water, isn't it? And at some places we eat food, isn't it? So it does not mean that all the food that is eaten by us and all the water that is drunk by us is not so pure. It might be contaminated sometimes. Contaminated with what? Contaminated with harmful microorganisms. But yet you drink water, you eat food, isn't it? But still you don't get any disease. This is what happening with us in our daily life, isn't it? So you wake up in the morning, you just go, okay, you visit different places, again you come back, but still you're so healthy. Though you're exposed to your body is exposed to a number of infectious agents in the sense that a number of bacteria, your body is exposed to a variety of bacteria, a variety of viruses or fungi or any harmful microorganism. But see, however, only few of them, not many of us, only few of them result in diseases, isn't it? So why this is happening? Because there is an inbuilt immune system. So students, generally we call this power the ability of our body to fight against these harmful microorganisms. So in generally, this ability, this capacity is called as a disease resistance power, isn't it? So the word disease resistance is generally used. It is a common word that is used for this ability or for this capacity our body able to fight against these harmful microorganisms. But the disease resistance power, that is technically called as immunity. So disease resistance power is nothing but immunity. So our immunity helps us protecting our body against all these harmful microorganisms that enter into our body. So on a whole, you can say that immunity, so the system which is providing immunity, that ability to our body, so that system is called as immune system. So like all other systems, so far we have studied digestive system, respiratory system, excretory system, circulatory system, isn't it? So far we have studied many organ systems. So as there is one more system that is called as immune system, which provides immunity to our body. So what is the significance of this immune system? This immune system will protect our body against all the harmful microorganisms or pathogens. Okay, so this is the significance of or the importance of immune system. So we can say that, or thus the immune system is considered as the bodyguard of our body. So it protects our, it guards our body. So this is considered as the bodyguard with powerful arsenal. So what does this word arsenal means? Nothing but collection of weapons, military weapons, isn't it? All weapons, guns, different guns, weapons. Okay, so with this powerful collection of weapons, so this immune system is protecting our body, guarding our body all the time from our birth to death. Okay, so this is called the bodyguard with powerful arsenal. So immune system is protecting our body round the clock, 24 hours, weekdays, year, from birth to death. So thus immune system is called as the guardian angel, the guardian angel of our body. So this is how you introduce this immune system. So students, if you look at this picture, so here all these are the different organs or the various organs. All these organs comprise to form the immune system. So here tonsils, adenoids, thymus, thymus gland, as you have studied in the endocrine system, spleen, a lymphoid organ, Peyer's patch, bone marrow, the substance that is present in the hollow portion of the long bones, especially appendix, which you have studied in the digestive system, appendix, a vestigial organ, lymph nodes. So all these comprise to form the immune system. Now, students, what are the contents that are going to be discussed in this today's session? Okay, so the introduction to the immune system, the definition of immunity, the significance, okay, and the basic concepts. Because in order to understand the functioning of immune system, so we need to understand some basic concepts related to this immune system. So what are those basic concepts? So the basic concepts starts with lines of defense. Okay, so there are three different lines of defense, like first line of defense, second line of defense, third line of defense, and cells of the immune system. So there are a variety of different kinds of cells are there in the immune family, immune system. Okay, so all these different kinds of cells provide immunity to our body. They continuously fight against the antigens or harmful microorganisms. Okay, so the cells of the immune system, and there are different kinds of cells, among them lymphocytes, phagocytes, auxiliary cells. Okay, and we end this session with organs of immune system. So there are a different set of organs. Okay, so let us know the organs of immune system. Again, there are two types, like primary lymphoid organs, secondary lymphoid organs. So let us start this session by introduction. So students, nearly all organisms have immune system. As I have told earlier, in the biological world, all multicellular organisms, all multicellular organisms have some kind of immune system. If you see the vertebrates, they have well developed or highly sophisticated immune system, isn't it? So all multicellular organisms have some kind of immune system, some kind of the disease resistance power inbuilt in their body by birth. Okay, whereas in vertebrates especially, you see a well developed or highly sophisticated immune system. such as adaptive immunity, or it is also called as acquired immunity, which is acquired by the vertebrates after birth. Okay, students. Now in biology, immunity is the capability of. So how can you define immunity? It is nothing but the capability or the ability or the capacity of all multi-organisms to resist harmful microorganisms. So these harmful microorganisms enter into our body through various routes, isn't it? Through oral route, through either drinking water, through the food we eat, isn't it? Or through inhalation process. Okay, so there are different routes for these harmful microorganisms to enter into our body. So however they enter into our body, so the immunity, the power, the ability, okay, so of the multicellular organisms that resist these harmful microorganisms. Okay, the immune system is a system of many biological structures and processes within the organism that protects against a disease. So what is the fundamental principle of this immune system? So the fundamental principle of the immune system lies on the capacity to recognize, tolerate whatever belongs to the self, and to recognize and reject what is foreign. Okay, so students, the ability of this immune system lies in this identifying or discrimination between self and non-self. So self means that belongs to our own body. Self means that belongs to our own body, whereas non-self, that can be also called as foreign. Non-self, non-self means that does not belongs to our body, that it does not belong to our body. So generally that is called as foreign, or that is called as non-self. Students, let me let me make clear very thing. So if any foreigners enter into our country, so generally they are called as foreigners because they do not belong to our country, they come from other countries, isn't it? So as they do not belong to our country, they come from abroad or they come from other countries, so generally they are called as, yes, foreigners. Similarly, the substances or the things that enter from the outside into our body, from the outside into our the body, so generally they are called as foreign bodies or foreign substances, or they are also called as technically non-self. So the principle of the working of immune system lies on this recognition or discrimination between self and non-self. So if they are recognized as self, so our immune system tolerates, accepts that. So our immune system accepts or tolerates the self, whatever that belongs to our own body, so that is tolerated, accepted by the immune system. Whereas the thing which enter from outside, which is non-self, so the immune system will recognize it as non-self and it will reject, it will not accept, it will not tolerate. So on a whole, we can say that the immune system does not allow the non-self or the foreign body to enter into our body. Somehow if it enters into our body, the immune system will reject outrightly. It continuously tries to reject the foreign body or foreign substances or the non-self. So this is the fundamental principle on which the immune system works. So discrimination between self and non-self. Now, the immune system enables the body to recognize a foreign agent as non-self, which is something other than the person's own substances. So now, students, can you discriminate or can you distinguish between self and non-self? Self means belongs to our own body. Non-self means enters from outside. So that does not belong to our own body, or that does not belong to our person's body's substances. So that is called as non-self. And moreover, the immune system keeps a record of every germ or microorganism that enters into our body. So it might be a bacterium, it might be a virus or fungi or any protozoan parasite. Okay. So if that microorganism, once it enters into our body, okay, now the immune system maintains a record of that particular microorganism that entered into our body. And what happens if it enters for the second time? Now the immune system recognizes it very fastly, and the rejection process happens so quickly such that the microorganisms are killed outrightly once they enter. So all this process happens very quickly. So this is possible by keeping a record of every germ, okay, it has ever defeated, so it can recognize and destroy the microbe quickly if it enters the body again. Now students, let me tell you one thing interestingly. So your parents went to work, so you, your brother or your sister are left in the house, and your parents told that, uh, please be careful, do not allow anybody into the house. Okay, now somebody knocks the door. Of course, you just open the door and see the person. If the person belongs to your own family, or if the person belongs to your relatives, isn't it, now you will recognize them and you will allow them to come into the house. If at all, if the person is completely new, so if the person is completely new, what shall you do? You keep asking, you start asking, who are you, why did you come, isn't it? So what is the work? So when you start asking these questions, if you are satisfied, okay. Otherwise, what shall you do? You will not allow that person to enter into your house, isn't it? Okay, by chance, mistakenly you have allowed that new person into your house, and you are doing your work, and that new person is nothing but a thief. If you are busy, okay, so he'll just take something, some uh, valuable things from your home, and he just left. And if you check once, okay, yeah, that person is nothing but thief. So you recognize that that person is thief. Next time if the same person comes to your house, now this time what shall you do? You start screaming, you start shouting, thief, 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 isn't it? Because already you are experienced by that person. So for the first time, if you allow that person, so what did he do? Yeah, he stolen the valuable things from your home. Next time the same person, if he again visits your home, now this time you will not allow that person, because your memory tells that the same person has visited for the second time, and this time you start screaming or shouting, thief, thief, thief. You just make the neighbors alert, isn't it? You even do not open the door. So this is how you memorize, isn't it? So the same way the immune system also maintains a record, like the immunological memory. The memory is called as immunological memory. Okay, so it maintains record of every germ that enters into our body, and if it visits for the second time, so the immune system reacts this time very quickly. Okay, so this is how the immune system works. Now the immune system in a broad sense is a mechanism that allows a living organism to discriminate between self and non-self. Now on a whole, let us know the definition of immunity means. So what is immunity? Immunity means the overall ability of an individual. Each and every individual has got some kind of immunity. So this overall ability of an individual to fight against the disease causing organisms. Now this ability is called as immunity. This ability, this capability is called as immunity. Now what is immune system? So immune system is nothing but the network of organs, cells and proteins that protect the body from harmful infectious agents. What are those infectious agents? They might be bacteria, viruses, or animal parasites, protozoan parasites, fungi, etc. So all these infectious agents do harm to our body. They might cause disease to our body. So now this immune system, which comprises of a network of organs, cells, proteins, it continuously protects our body. Okay, now this system is called as immune system. So this is immune system. So students, immune system is a bit different from the other organ systems that you have studied so far, such as a digestive system exclusively performs the process of digestion, isn't it? And it consists of set of organs such as mouth, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine. Okay, so all these set of organs exclusively perform the process of digestion. And similarly, respiratory system, it has got lungs, respiratory tract, nostrils, isn't it? All these things, trachea, and they perform exclusively the process of respiration. And excretory system, it consists of a pair of kidneys, ureters, urinary bladder, urethra. Okay, and they perform the exclusive function of the process of excretion. Okay, so the other organ systems which you have studied so far, they got a set of organs and they perform that specific function, whereas immune system do not have such a set of organs separately or specifically. It does not have specific organs exclusively to perform the function of immune, providing immunity to our body. Okay, so there are no specific organs for this immune system to perform only the providing immunity or to our body. So it is a set of organs. So the organs which are part of digestive system, some organs which are part of the nervous system, some organs which are part of the endocrine system. So like this, the organs of different organ systems, the organs of different organ systems, the tissues of different organs, the cells of different organ systems. So all these unite, all these comprise and form this immune system. So immune system do not have specific organs. So this is very, very important thing, students. Okay, so immune system is just a functional system. So because it does not have any specific organs. Okay, so this is not an organ system that you have studied like excretory system, respiratory system, circulatory system, or digestive system. It is just a functional system because it consists of a network of organs that belong to other systems, organ systems. Okay, so they function as a part of providing immunity to our body. So the immune system is just a functional system. It is not an organ system. And immunity can be understood as a protective battle. It is nothing but a battle that is occurring between our body organs, our body cells against the germs or harmful microorganisms. So this is nothing but a protective battle protecting our body all the time. Now students, look at this picture. So he's a very popular person. He's called Edward Jenner. And this Edward Jenner is called the father of immunology. He is popularly called as the father of immunology. So what is immunology? The branch of biology that deals with immunity or the study of immune system is called immunology. Logy means studies, logos, studies. So study of immunity and as well as study of the immune system. So that particular branch of biology is called as immunology. And who is considered as the father of immunology or the father of vaccination? Yes, Edward Jenner. Why? Because he is a scientist. He is the one who discovered the vaccine and the procedure of vaccination for the first time for the smallpox, isn't it? So, and because of his great discovery, okay, and he is popularly called as the father of immunology. So he is Edward Jenner, who started the procedure of vaccination. Now let us try to understand the basic concepts of immunology. Okay, so here these are the basic concepts. So let us start with lines of defense, cells of the immune system, organs of the immune system, and soluble mediators of the immune system. So all these form the basic concepts of immunology. Now let us start the lines of defense. So there is a first line of defense in our body, there is a second line of defense in our body, and there is a third line of defense in our body. So on a whole, our body has got three different lines of defense that works against the harmful microorganisms, that will not allow them to enter into our body, will reject, will resist their entry or restrict their entry into our body. Okay, in three different manners. So there are three different lines of defense in our body. Let us see the first line of defense. So the first line of defense is formed by skin and as well as a mucous membranes of respiratory tract, a gastrointestinal tract, or urinogenital tract. So we have mucous membranes over there, isn't it? Okay, so these mucous membranes also serve as the first line of defense. Okay, and the enzyme called lysozyme. So generally Where do you find this enzyme lysozyme? Yes, students, this lysozyme enzyme is found in the saliva and as well as in the tears, isn't it? Okay, so these form the first line of defense. And what is the second line of defense? The second line of defense comprise different cells of the immune system. Okay, so what are the important cells of this immune system? Phagocytes, NK cells. NK cells means natural killer cells. So what is the full form of NK? Natural killer cells. And antimicrobial substances that are secreted. So generally, what are these antimicrobial substances that are secreted in our body? Nothing but enzymes. Nothing but enzymes such as lysozyme, phospholipase. So these are the antimicrobial substances secreted against in response to the harmful microorganisms that entered into our body. And of course, fever. Fever is not a disease, it is a sign of infection, isn't it, students? So what is fever? It is nothing but a sign of infection. If your body is infected, so what is the first sign of your body? Your body shows fever. Okay, and inflammation, nothing but the swelling of a particular localized body. Okay, so all these form the second line of defense. Third line of defense, this is highly developed in vertebrates. If you see in the mammalian immune system, this is highly developed or highly sophisticated. So it is formed by the T cells, B cells. T cells means uh, thymus, lymphocytes. B cells, like these are the cells derived from the bone marrow, especially in case of mammals, whereas in case of birds, these cells are derived from the bursa of Fabricius. Okay, B cells and antibodies. So these form the third line of defense in our body. Now let us see how does these three different lines of defense work. Okay, now the first line of defense, if you see the first line of defense, it is formed by skin mucous membranes of different tracts, isn't it? Now let us differentiate them into physical barriers and chemical barriers for our convenient. Okay, now let us see physical barriers. Physically, the barrier is the thing that does not allow, that will restrict the entry of microorganisms into our body. Okay, so like that is like a wall. Okay, so barrier. So what are the physical barriers which form the first line of defense? So skin, as you know that the skin is the largest organ of our body. Okay, so skin forms the physical barrier that does not allow any kind of harmful microorganisms to enter into our body. Okay, so skin will provide protection as a physical barrier, first line of defense. Eyelashes, so we have eyelashes. So what is the function of these eyelashes? Yes, they also provide a physical barrier, not allowing the harmful microorganisms. Okay, somehow. Okay, and body hair also. So body hair also somehow they also act as a physical barriers. The body hair, the sparsely distributed hair on the skin, so it also acts as one of the physical barrier in the first line of defense. And of course, mucous membranes of the respiratory tract, isn't it? The gastrointestinal tract and as well as urinogenital tract. So all these tracts used to have the mucous membranes. The internal lining of these tracts used to have the mucous lining, isn't it? We have studied in the respiratory system, digestive system, in the excretory system. So the internal lining of these tracts used to have the epithelial lining, mucus lining. Mucus secretion will be there and mucus forms a lining. Okay, so these mucous membranes also form the physical barriers, does not allow if somehow if they enter into our body either through inhalation of the air. Okay, so through air, if any dust particles enters into our respiratory tract, so the internal lining of this mucous membrane will trap those dust particles and they're swept outside, they're outrightly rejected by a process called as a coughing or sneezing, isn't it? Okay, and of course gastrointestinal tract and urinogenital tract used to have these mucous membranes which form the physical barriers. And coming to the chemical barriers, even the chemical barriers also form the first line of defense. So chemical barriers, again barriers that does not allow, act like a wall. Okay, again is the entry of harmful microorganisms. Okay, and because of their chemical nature they are called as chemical barriers. So what are they? Sweat, they are secreted by the sweat glands, isn't it? And where do these sweat glands are present? They are present in the skin. They form the integumentary system, isn't it? They are part of the integumentary system, so they are present in the skin. So the function of sweat glands is to produce or to secrete sweat. Okay, now this sweat acts as chemical barrier. And sebum, sebum is an yellowish, light yellowish, oily like substance, isn't it? So this sebum is produced by or synthesized by sebaceous glands. These sebaceous glands are also found in the skin. The sebaceous glands are also the part of integumentary system. Okay, so now these sebaceous glands produce a oily like substance which is called as sebum. So due to its acidic nature, this sebum also provides protection, okay, which restricts the entry of the harmful microorganisms, okay, which forms a chemical barrier. And saliva, the saliva is secreted from the salivary glands, isn't it? Now this saliva contains an enzyme called lysozyme. The lysozyme is the enzyme that is present in the saliva, and the saliva is secreted from the salivary glands that are present in the pharynx, okay, in the surrounding of the pharynx. And tears, so what are these tears? Tears are nothing but water like secretions, water like secretions that are secreted from the tear glands. What are the tear glands? Technically they are lacrimal glands. Okay, so lacrimal glands secrete these tears, and even in these tears also this enzyme, lysozyme enzyme, is present. Okay, so generally this lysozyme enzyme is antibacterial in nature. Antibacterial in nature means that kills the bacteria, a variety of bacteria. Okay, now gastric acid, so our stomach will secrete this strong acid, HCl, hydrochloric acid, which is called as gastric acid. Okay, so the gastric glands which are present in the wall of the stomach will secrete this gastric acid, and the gastric acid is so strong, acidic in nature, okay, which will kill the bacteria, isn't it, the harmful microorganisms that enter along with the food. So whatever the food that is taken by us, if at all that food is contaminated, if at all that food contains the bacteria that enter through mouth and enters into the stomach, okay, so by the action of this hydrochloric acid, so all the microorganisms, all the bacteria that is present in the food gets killed by the action of strong acid, that is hydrochloric acid. So this is a chemical barrier. And some vaginal secretions, especially in females, the vaginal secretions also act as chemical barriers. So both these chemical barriers and as well as physical barriers, so these two form the first line of defense, first line of defense, that form the first line of defense, protecting our body. Now if you look at these pictures, students, so what is this person doing? He's coughing, whereas what is this lady doing? She's sneezing. Achu, she's sneezing. So what are these involuntary reflexes, isn't it? You cannot stop coughing, you cannot stop consciously, you cannot stop sneezing. So what are these involuntary reflexes? So this is whenever dust particles enter through inhaled air, if it enters into the respiratory tract, so the respiratory tract consists of mucous membranes, mucus, okay, so that mucus will trap the dust particles, and by the ciliary action of the internal lining of this respiratory tract, so the dust particles are swept upwardly, okay, along with some mucus, so that is outrightly comes out of the mouth as sputum. We just spit it out, isn't it? Sometimes coughing, so by coughing what happens, those dust particles that entered into our respiratory tract, which are collected, which are trapped by the mucous membranes, so by this coughing process, so although dust particles will come outside, okay, and the same happens in the process of sneezing. So if you're allergic to certain substances, isn't it, so suddenly what happens, you start sneezing continuously. Some persons continuously sneeze, isn't it? Now the act of sneezing, the sneezing is also nothing but a kind of a response shown by the immune system to the dust particles or to some irritants to whom that person shows immune responses. So these are nothing but a kind of immune responses shown by the immune system of our body: coughing, sneezing, all these. Now let us see the vertebrate immunity especially. So innate immune system, innate means by birth, okay, so all the vertebrates are born with some immunity, okay, So this is very common in all the vertebrates. So as it comes from birth or by birth, so it is called as innate. Whereas adaptive immune system means the vertebrates or the organisms after birth. So they acquire in their lifetime. So as they are exposed to different kinds of pathogens, or their body is exposed to different kinds of infectious agents. Okay. So based on this, so they develop or they acquire some immunity. Okay. So that immunity acquired by the organisms after birth is called as acquired immunity or adaptive immunity. So students, see here, adaptive immunity is very, very specific. So it is very specific to the antigen to which the body is exposed. Whereas the innate immunity by birth, the immunity which comes by birth, so this is not specific. So this works against all kinds of infectious agents, to all kinds of antigens. Whereas this is very, very specific. This is non-specific. And this innate immunity consists of physical barriers, and of course we have already studied the chemical barriers which also come under this. Okay. And the internal defenses, different responses, inflammatory response. So whenever an injury occurs, what happens? Swelling takes place, inflammation. So what is inflammation? Nothing but, so that particular part where the injury occurs, so the surrounding tissue gets damaged. Okay. So it is, the inflammation is uh, characterized by certain symptoms such as redness, some swelling takes place, hot, isn't it? Some pain will be there over there. Okay. So over the inflammation. Okay. So that is called as inflammatory response. So inflammatory response is also nothing but a kind of response shown by the immune system either to any kind of infection or to any kind of injuries. Okay. So that is called as inflammatory response. And some complementary proteins that are secreted in our body, phagocytic cells, natural killer cells. So all these form the internal defenses. All these form the second line of defense. And adaptive immune system is well developed, especially in vertebrates. Okay. So this is provided by antibodies in two types, like cell mediated immunity and humoral mediated immunity. And memory response. Memory response means like we have some special cells in the immune system which will remember the pathogens that enter into our body for the first time. Okay. And if they enter into our body for the second time, now the immune system reacts very quickly. Okay. So this is due to this memory, and this memory is called as immunological memory. And there are special cells for this memory. There are memory cells, long lived memory cells in our immune system, which will maintain a record of the pathogens that enter into our body for the first time. Now students, if you look at these pictures, so soldiers, border security force. So generally we find these soldiers at our borders, international borders, isn't it? Okay. So what does these soldiers do? They are very cautious, very alert all the time. See, they're watching through the binoculars. They're watching all the time, isn't it? So why they are so alert? Because they do not allow any person, okay, illegally into our boundaries or into our country. Okay. So like terrorists you are seeing at the borders between China and India, between Pakistan and India. Okay. Some fight is going on. Okay. So what happens, sometimes these people are foreign people. Okay. Without any permission, okay, illegally they enter into our body to do some kind of damage to our body, to do some kind of damage to our country. So such persons are restricted. Such persons are not allowed by these border security force. So they always watch, they are always alert, okay, such that no such person is allowed into our country. So this is what these soldiers do at the borders. So this is how at the borders the fencing will be. So this is the fencing, okay, at the borders, international borders. So these fencing will not allow any persons to enter illegally into the country. Okay. Similarly, the immune system, which has got three different lines of defense, also do the same function. Almost what is the function, what is the work done by these soldiers? So the same work is done by our lines of defense. Now, if you look at this picture, so these are policemen. So in the earlier slide, you have seen soldiers, and here you are seeing the policemen. So both soldiers and policemen almost do a similar kind of job, protecting our country, protecting our society, isn't it? Isn't it? So, but the method of doing work is different. So what does the soldiers do? They protect our country staying at the borders. So the military person, the soldiers, the border security force, especially, they stand at the international borders. Okay, they do the work of protecting our country, so at the border. Okay, whereas these policemen, so once the person, if the person is allowed into our body, for example, in the society or in the country itself, some persons might do some illegal things. Okay, anti-social elements against the law. If they do something against the law, so that is punishable, that is an offense, isn't it? So all such kind of things are taken or looked after by these policemen. So see, the border security force protecting our country, staying in the borders, not allowing any person illegally into our country, protecting our country. Whereas these policemen staying inside the country, okay, in the society, and they're protecting, they're giving protection to the society, to the country, okay, by capturing these anti-social elements which are doing damage to the country. Similarly, very similarly, so see, that is like first line defense, this is like second line defense, isn't it? And moreover, students, for your kind information, there are different departments even in the police, isn't it? Like mufti police are there, like CAD, okay, isn't it? And there are different, like paramilitary forces are there, okay, armed reserve forces are there, greyhounds are there. So there are different departments of police. So again, police department used to have different departments. So each and every department has got its own function. A functioning of what? Functioning of protecting our body. In the similar way, the immune system used to have three different lines of defenses which work in their own manner, in a different manner. But on a whole, the very purpose of the lines of defense is giving protection to our body from the harmful microorganisms. Now, the immune system is differentiated into two types or two components. So one is innate, as I told, innate immune is nothing but by birth. So the organisms acquire this. The organisms get this immunity by birth. So whatever the immunity that comes by birth, okay, to the organisms, that is called as innate immunity, and it is non-specific because this innate immunity works against all kinds of infections, all kinds of harmful microorganisms. Okay, and this is present in almost all metazoans in the sense that all multicellular organisms. So the innate immunity is present or seen in all metazoans, and it is non-specific. Whereas adaptive, so this is also called as acquired because this is the immunity acquired by the organisms after birth based on the type of antigen to which our body is exposed, isn't it? So this is called as adaptive immunity or acquired immunity, and this is very, very specific, highly specific, and it occurs only in vertebrates. So this adaptive immunity is seen only in vertebrates. So this is how the immune system is divided into two different components. Let us see the different cells of the immune system. So this is very, very important, students, as far as immune system is concerned. So there are different cells which form the immune system, protect our body all the time. So generally, the cells of immune system are categorized or differentiated into three major types. So what are those? Lymphocytes, phagocytes, and auxiliary cells. So if you look at this picture, so all these are different cells of immune system: eosinophils, basophils, mast cells, platelets, dendritic cells, lymphocytes, and lymphocytes are further differentiated into B lymphocytes, T lymphocytes, isn't it? Neutrophils. Okay, so all these are different cells of the immune system which work in protecting our body all the time. Even this picture also shows the same different cells of immune system, especially see macrophages, T cells. Again, T cells have different types: T helper cells, killer T cells, isn't it? And some lymphocytes secrete antibodies which will fight against, which will work against the antigens. Antigen is nothing but any foreign substance or foreign body that enters into our body, that is non-self. So that is generally considered as antigen. So these antibodies are produced against to those, in response to those antigens. Okay, So again, effector B cells, memory cells. So all these are nothing but the different kinds of immune system, different kinds of cells of immune system. Now coming to, first of all, the lymphocytes. The lymphocytes, as you have studied, these are the white blood cells, nothing but leukocytes that are present in the lymph. So students, as you already know that there are two different circulating fluids in our body. One is blood, another one is lymph. As blood contains blood cells, so as lymph also contains lymph cells. And these lymph cells are very particularly called as lymphocytes, isn't it? See here, the lymphocytes are further differentiated into three types: B lymphocytes, B cells or B lymphocytes, T cells or T lymphocytes, and the third one is large granular lymphocytes. So students, for your kind information, let me clear you. The lymphocytes, based on the size, the lymphocytes are differentiated into two types: a small lymphocytes, large lymphocytes. So here both B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes are included under small lymphocytes because of their smaller size comparatively to that of these large granular lymphocytes. So another kind of lymphocytes are large lymphocytes. So large lymphocytes include large granular lymphocytes. So based on size, the lymphocytes are differentiated into two types: small lymphocytes, which includes B lymphocytes and as well as T lymphocytes, and large lymphocytes, which include only large granular lymphocytes. So let us go in detail one by one. So B cells, or these are also called as B lymphocytes. B lymphocytes. So these are very, very important cells of the immune system, and their importance is it lies in producing antibodies. So the B lymphocyte are capable of producing antibodies. So students, see here, the B lymphocytes are capable of producing antibodies, and not only that, the B lymphocytes have this ability of capturing the circulating antigens or free antigens. So these circulating antigens or free antigens are generally seen in the circulating fluids such as blood, such as lymph, isn't it? So these antigens are captured by these B lymphocytes. So B lymphocytes will do two functions. One is producing antibodies against the antigens and capturing these free circulating antigens that are circulating in our circulating fluids. So this is the specialty of B lymphocytes. Now, what is the origin? What is the birthplace of these B lymphocytes? From where these B lymphocytes are developed or born? Okay, so generally the B lymphocytes are developed from the stem cells. So where do you find these stem cells? The stem cells are found in the bone marrow, especially in the long bones. If you see, the bone marrow is a substance, isn't it? So in the bone marrow, we have got the myeloid and the progenitor cells, isn't it? So these progenitor cells in the course, okay, of time, so they give rise to different kinds of cells, different kinds of blood cells, and different kinds of the cells of immune system. So the bone marrow, especially if you see in the adult mammals, so the stem cells which are present in the bone marrow will give rise to these B lymphocytes. Whereas in the fetus, when we are in the uterus of our mother, okay, in the fetus stage, so at that time, the stem cells of liver, the stem cells which are present in the liver give rise to these B lymphocytes, T lymphocytes, or all other cells of immune system. So in adult mammals, it is bone marrow, whereas in the fetus condition, fetus stage, it is liver. Whereas in case of birds, if you see exclusively in birds, so there is a special organ in the birds called as bursa fabricius. So this is the organ which give rise to these cells of immune system such as B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. So this is bursa fabricius in birds. So the cells that are developed from the stem cells of these parts, okay, so they become mature in the bone marrow, and because of this process, the maturation process, as the maturation of these cells occur in the bone marrow, or in the bursts of Fabricius in the case of birds. So these lymphocytes are very particularly called as B lymphocytes. So here B stands for bone marrow in case of mammals, B stands for bursts of Fabricius in case of birds, because as these lymphocytes undergo the process of maturation at the bone marrow. Hence, these lymphocytes are called as B lymphocytes. Now, these mature B lymphocytes, once the maturation process is completed, now these B lymphocytes are called as mature B lymphocytes. Mature B lymphocytes. These mature B lymphocytes are also called as immunocompetent B cells. Immunocompetent B cells. Now, these immunocompetent B cells reach the secondary lymphoid organs. So, there are secondary lymphoid organs in our body. They are part of immune system. Okay, now these matured B cells or immunocompetent B cells reach these secondary lymphoid organs and become functional B lymphocytes. Become functional B lymphocytes. Okay, so this is how the B lymphocytes are developed from the stem cells. They undergo a process of maturation in the bone marrow, and after reaching the secondary lymphoid organs such as spleen, okay, now they become a functional B lymphocytes. Functional B lymphocytes. Now see here, after the maturation in the bone marrow, so now they are called as mature immunocompetent cells. So after reaching the secondary lymphoid organs such as spleen, lymph nodes, tonsils, so all these are the secondary lymphoid organs. Now they become functional immune cells. Functional immune cells. Now the B lymphocytes, which are functionally active cells, okay, again they are differentiated into two types. One is long-lived memory cells. Another one is effector plasma cells. So see, students, here the long-lived memory cells, because their lifespan is very, very long. They have got a very lengthy lifespan. As these memory cells have got a very lengthy lifespan, so they are generally called as long-lived memory cells. Now, generally, what does these memory cells do? So whenever our body is exposed to various kinds of infectious agents or microorganisms, now these memory cells maintain a record of these microorganisms. Okay, and that memory is called as immunological memory. So that immunological memory is maintained by these long-lived memory cells. And if that same pathogen or the same microorganism enters for the second time, now the immune system starts working very quickly against that pathogen or that microorganism. And the other kind of the functional immune cells are effector plasma cells. Now these plasma cells, effector plasma cells, produce antibodies. So these are the cells which produce antibodies against the antigens that enter into our body, and these are the effector plasma cells which capture, which have got the ability or the capacity of capturing the free circulating or freely moving antigens in the circulatory fluids of our body. So students, see here, naive cells, B cells. So these are nothing but the effector plasma cells. So these are the effector plasma cells which produce antibodies, whereas these are the long-lived memory cells. Long-lived memory cells responsible for the immunological memory. They maintain that data, the record of the organisms enter into our body. Now, another kind of lymphocytes, these are called as T cells or T lymphocytes. So here T stands for thymus. T stands for thymus. As these lymphocytes origin in the stem cells of bone marrow. So the birthplace of T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes is very similar. Don't get confused, students. Both B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes are originated from the stem cells of bone marrow. There is no doubt in that. But the maturation process of these lymphocytes takes place at the thymus gland. So these lymphocytes, after their birth, after their origin from the bone marrow, they reach the thymus gland through the blood circulation. And once they reach the thymus gland, by the secretions of the thymus gland, now these lymphocytes undergo a process called as maturation. So as the maturation of these cells takes place at the thymus gland, now these are called as thymus lymphocytes or T lymphocytes. So this is the only difference between B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes, especially. Okay, so these do not produce antibodies unlike B lymphocytes. So B lymphocytes, they produce antibodies, whereas T lymphocytes do not have this ability or capacity of producing antibodies. They are unable to produce antibodies against the antigens. And not only that, even they cannot recognize the free or circulating antigens. So the free or circulating antigens which are present in the circulating fluids are not recognized by these T lymphocytes, but somehow they will recognize the antigens when they are presented by antigen presenting cells. Antigen presenting cells are a different kind of cells of immune system. So when these antigens are presented by these antigen presenting cells, now these T lymphocytes are able to recognize those antigens which are presented by antigen presenting cells or self altered cells. Self altered cells. So this is what can recognize antigens if presented by antigen presenting cells or altered self cells, especially by MHC molecules. MHC stands for major histocompatibility complex. Major histocompatibility complex. So these are the molecules that are present on the surface of the, these are the molecules present on the surface of the antigen presenting cells. So these are of two kinds, like class 1 MHC molecules, class 2 MHC molecules. So that will be discussed in the later sessions. Now the antigen presenting cells include dendritic cells, macrophages, and the other cells are also present which form the antigen presenting cells. So when these antigen presenting cells present the antigen, now the T lymphocytes can able to recognize but unable to recognize the free or circulating antigens. So students, if you look at these pictures, see, so this is the B cell or B lymphocyte. This is the T cell or T lymphocyte, and this is the large granular lymphocytes. So the B lymphocytes and the large granular lymphocyte, because of its larger size and due to the presence of granules, cytoplasmic granule lymphocytes. So there are three different types of lymphocytes: B lymphocytes, T lymphocytes, and large granular lymphocytes. Okay, so the thymus gland, from the bone marrow, the lymphocytes originate, they reach thymus gland, become matured, and after maturation they are called as mature T cells or immunocompetent T cells, and after reaching secondary lymphoid organs again they become functional cells. So very much to B lymphocytes. Even B lymphocytes also become functional only when they reach the secondary lymphoid organs. And so as here also the mature T cells or the immunocompetent T cells after reaching the secondary lymphoid organs, they become the functional T cells. Now let us see the types of T cells. So there are two types of T cells based on the presence of glycoproteins on the cell surface, based on the type of glycoproteins that are present on the cell surface. Okay, so there are two different types of T cells, like CD4 plus cells and CD8 plus cells. So these are the T cells which are present on the cell surface. And these T cells are present on the
Hello. Hello.
Madam, shall I continue?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, students. Again, there are two different types of T cells based on the presence of glycoproteins on the cell surface. Okay. So these glycoproteins are in generally called as cluster of differentiation molecules. So based on these different types of clusters of differentiation glycoproteins on the cell surface, so the T cells are differentiated into CD4 plus cells, which are also called as T4 cells, and CD8 plus cells. These are also called as T8 cells. Okay, so this is based on the presence of glycoproteins present on the cell surface, and this cluster of differentiation is abbreviated as CD markers. CD markers. And students, if you see functionally, so based on the functional property, okay, again the T cells are differentiated into T helper cells. These are also called as T H cells, and T cytotoxic cells, or these are also called as TC cells. Okay, so based on the functional, okay, the T cells are again differentiated into T helper cells and T cytotoxic cells, whereas the T helper cells are involved in two types of immunity, that is cell mediated immunity and as well as humoral mediated immunity. So the T helper cells are involved in these two types of immunity, whereas the T cytotoxic cells are involved only in cell mediated immunity, only in cell mediated immunity. Coming to the T helper cells, so what is the specialty of T helper cells? They recognize the exogenous antigens. So what is meant by exogenous? Exogenous, exo means outside. So the antigens which does not belong to our own body, and the antigens which enter from the outside to our body. Okay, so all such antigens are called as exogenous antigens. So students, the antigens can be differentiated into two types, okay, such as exogenous and as well as endogenous. So here exogenous means the antigens that come from outside into our body. So all such exogenous antigens are recognized by these T helper cells, whereas endogenous antigens means the antigens which are antigens which are present or produced inside our body are called as endogenous antigens. Endogenous antigens. And these T helper cells and as well as T cytotoxic cells, okay, so they, once they become functional, okay, so they are capable of producing again two more cells. They are called as memory cells. These are long lived cells responsible for immunological memory and effector plasma cells, and these are the cells which produce antibodies against the microorganism. So this is how the T cells are differentiated into T helper cells and T cytotoxic cells based on their functional property. So see here students, CD4 plus cells, okay, and T helper cells. And these are the B cells. B cells have this ability of producing antibodies, whereas T cells do not have this ability of producing antibodies. Now coming to the third lymphocyte, large granular lymphocytes. So due to its large size and due to the presence of cytoplasmic granules, okay, so these are the cytoplasmic granules present in the cytoplasm, whereas this is the nucleus. This is the nucleus. So this is the large granular lymphocyte. So large granular lymphocytes are nothing but the natural killer cells, NK cells. They are abbreviated as NK cells. So these are the very active form of cells of immune system. NK cells form or play a very significant role or a very important role as far as the cells of immune system are concerned. Okay, so these natural killer cells, their response is very quick. Okay, they immediately react, they immediately respond. So whenever a microorganism enters into our body, so immediately that is recognized by this NK cell, and it immediately attacks the natural killer cell, immediately attacks that microorganism and it destroys it or kills it. Okay, so this is how the natural killer cell reacts or responds very quickly and protects our body. It kills, it destroys, it destructs the microorganisms that enter into our body. So the natural killer cell is nothing but large granular lymphocyte. Okay, so whereas this is a healthy cell, whereas this is the infected cell. So if this virus enters into the cell, into a normal healthy cell. Okay, so once this virus enters into our normal healthy cell, now this normal healthy cell becomes infected cell because of this virus. So this cell is called as a viral infected cell. Now what does this NK cell do? It will attack this viral infected cell and will destroy it. Okay, so this is how our body gets protection by this NK cells. So the reaction time is very, very quick. Okay, so the natural killer cells are nothing but the large granular lymphocytes. So these cells, immune cells, can recognize and kill the cells of someone's bodies that have been infected with a pathogen. And natural killer cells can also recognize and destroy tumor cells. Tumor cells means cancer forming cells, tumors. Okay, so we have two different types of tumors: malignant tumors and benign tumors. Okay, so somehow any kind of tumor cell, okay, is recognized by these natural killer cells, and they are destroyed by these natural killer cells. And these natural killer cells are present in the blood and can move into other tissues also whenever the requirement is there, the necessity of the natural killer cells is there over. Okay, so they can come out of this bloodstream and they can enter into any kind of tissue. So these are the body's most important cells of defense: natural killer cells or large granular lymphocytes. They destroys the infected cells or the altered cell cells. Altered cell cells means our own cells, but they have turned into cancer cells. Okay, so our own cells at any time they can become cancer cell. Okay, so all such infected cells or self-altered cells, cancer cells, are destroyed by these natural killer cells. Their reaction time is very, very fast, and they are involved in cell-mediated immunity. Now coming to another kind of cells of immune system, phagocytes. So what are phagocytes? What does this phagocyte mean? So any cell that do the function of phagocytosis, So students, what does this word phagocytosis means? Phagocytosis means nothing but swallowing, digesting. Okay, once the swallowing is over, so digesting that completely. Okay, so that process is called as, so covering from all sides, like engulfing them and digesting them. So this particular process is called as covering from all sides, engulfing them, swallowing them, digesting them. So this entire process is called as phagocytosis. So the cell which has got this ability of to perform phagocytosis, so that cell is called as phagocyte. Now in our body, as a part of immune system, we have two kinds of phagocytes. One is mononuclear phagocytes, another one is polymorphonuclear phagocytes. So both mononuclear phagocytes and polymorphonuclear phagocytes belong to phagocytes because they do the function of phagocytosis. Now what is a mononuclear phagocytes? So students, in your first year you have studied about the different blood cells: red blood cells, erythrocytes, white blood cells, leukocytes, isn't it? Again, in the white blood cells, leukocytes, two kinds of cells are present, like granulocytes and agranulocytes. Granulocytes means granules, cytoplasmic granules are present, whereas agranulocytes means no cytoplasmic granules, isn't it? And these granulocytes, isn't it, with cytoplasmic granules. Okay, so they are called as mononuclear phagocytes. Mononuclear phagocytes means, mono means single, nucleus. So the nucleus of these phagocytes do not assume different shapes. It does not contain any lobes. Okay, so as single nucleus is present without any shapes. Okay, so all such phagocytes are called as, white blood cells are called as mononuclear phagocytes. Okay, so they are nothing but white blood cells, leukocytes, with without any different shapes of the nucleus. Okay, so mononuclear phagocytes. Whereas polymorphonuclear phagocytes, poly means many, morpho means shape, nuclear means nucleus. So the nucleus of these cells will assume different shapes. So due to the presence of lobes, different lobes, sometimes 2 lobes, 3 lobes, 4 lobes, 5 lobes. Okay, so based on these lobes, they assume different shapes. And as they are assuming different shape, as they are present in different shapes, okay, as their nucleus is in different shapes, so they got this name polymorphonuclear, as their nucleus shows different shapes, many shapes. So these cells are called as polymorphonuclear phagocytes. These are also nothing but WBC cells, white blood cells. So two types of phagocytes are seen: mononuclear phagocytes and polymorphonuclear phagocytes. Again, if you see the mononuclear phagocytes, okay, so they can come out of the blood stream and they can enter into different organs, such as they can enter into liver, they can enter into brain. Okay, so when they enter into different organs, they are called by different names. The same mononuclear phagocytes are called by different names based on their the destiny of their organ. Okay, for example, here see histiocytes. So these are the cells which are present in the tissues, especially in the connective tissue. So the histiocytes are nothing but the mononuclear phagocytes. So they come out of the blood circulation and they enter into the surrounding connective tissue. So whenever the connective tissue is infected by microorganisms, harmful microorganisms, so immediately what does these mononuclear phagocytes do? They come out of the blood circulation. So the WBC cells, the white blood cells, have got this ability of showing amoeboid movement, isn't it? You have studied in your first year. The WBC cells show this kind of amoeboid movement, and they come out of the blood circulation, passing through the blood vessels and enter into the surrounding tissue. And this a very phenomenon is called as diapedesis, isn't it, students? Do you remember this word diapedesis? The movement of white blood cells from the blood circulation into the surrounding tissue is called as diapedesis. And what kind of movement is shown by these cells means amoeboid movement. They form pseudopodia, and with the help of this pseudopodia they show the movement, and that movement is called as amoeboid movement. Okay, so when they reach the connective tissues, when these connective tissues are infected, now the cells reach here are called as histiocytes, and the cells which reach the liver are specially called as Kupffer cells. So Kupffer cells are nothing but mononuclear phagocytes, but as reaching the liver, now they are called as Kupffer cells. And the cells which reach brain are called as microglial cells. And the cells which reach bone, okay, they are called as osteoclasts. And the cells which reach the synovial fluid, the synovial fluid is present in the synovial joint, isn't it? We have synovial joints. Okay, so in the synovial joint we have synovial fluid, and some cells are present in the synovial fluid, and these cells, okay, come out of the blood circulation, reach here, and these cells are called as synovial cells. So okay, they got different names based on the organ in which they are present. Okay, so histiocytes in the connective tissue, Kupffer cells in the liver, microglial cells in the brain, osteoclasts in the bone, and synovial cells in the synovial fluid. Now, on a whole, the function is very similar. Students, don't get confused. Okay, so the function of all these cells is fighting against the infections, fighting against the harmful microorganisms, and protecting. Okay, so that is the common function of all these cells. Coming to the other side, polymorphonuclear cells with the different shapes of the nucleus. Okay, so again they are differentiated into two cells, like three cells: neutrophils, basophils, and eosinophils. Students, these are nothing but granulocytes because they present in their cells. They got the cytoplasmic granules, isn't it? So due to the presence of cytoplasmic granules, so these are also called as granulocytes, whereas mononuclear phagocytes are called as agranulocytes because the cytoplasmic granules are present in the mononuclear phagocytes. Here, the cytoplasmic granules are present, and they are further differentiated into three kinds based on the property of their absorbing the stains. If they absorb the basic stains, so they are called as basophils. If they absorb the acidic stains, okay, they are called as eosinophils. And if they are neutral either to acid and basic dyes, so they are called as neutrophils. So neutrophils account for 60% in our blood, basophils, okay, 2 to 3%, eosinophils, basophils just 0.4%, whereas eosinophils they account for 2 to 3%. So these are the different kinds of polymorphonuclear phagocytes. And students, if you see the neutrophils function, they are commonly called as microscopic policemen. They are the microscopic policemen, very active cells of the immune system. Basophils, they do a very similar kind of job that is performed by the mast cells. So they secrete histamine, heparin, isn't it? So they are responsible for the secretion of these substances such as heparin, okay, histamine, and they are also responsible for inflammation. Inflammatory responses are under the influence of basophils. Okay, and whereas eosinophils, so eosinophils are generally during allergic reactions such as sneezing, coughing, allergic reactions. Okay, so at the time the eosinophils play a crucial role, and they also play a very important role in forming the antigen antibody complexes, and they're also helpful in the removal of these antigen antibody complexes. So especially during allergic reactions, we see the role of eosinophils. During inflammatory responses, we see the role of basophils, And the neutrophils, they are very active cells, and they're commonly called as microscopic policemen. Okay, so these are the two different types of phagocytes. So these the pictures. So these are the histiocytes. So these blue colored. So these are the histiocytes, and these are the microglial cells seen in the brain. And this is the synovial joint. And here, see students, this is the synovial fluid here, and here the mononuclear phagocytes are present. Okay, so all those cells are called as synovial cells. And this is bone, and these are called osteoclast cells. Whereas this is the liver, and these are the Kupffer cells. So Kupffer cells, osteoclasts, synovial cells, microglia cells, and histocytes. So all these are nothing but different types of mononuclear phagocytes. And coming to this picture, students, so these are the neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils. So if you carefully observe these pictures, okay, so this is the neutrophil cell. See here, the nucleus is trilobed. It is divided into three distinct lobes, isn't it? It has got a different shape, a unique shape. Whereas this eosinophil cell, the nucleus of this eosinophil is divided into two distinct lobes. Two lobes. It is divided into two lobes. It is a unique shape. Okay. And here, see, it is a multi-lobe. So the nucleus of basophil assume different shape. It is consisting of different lobes, many lobes. So see here, all the three cells showing different shaped nucleus. As they show different shaped nucleus, so they are commonly called as polymorphonuclear phagocytes. So these are neutrophils, these are eosinophils, and these are basophils. So all these are nothing but the different cells of blood cells, monocytes, lymphocytes. Especially lymphocytes are seen in the lymph. Neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils, just we have seen. Macrophages, large granular phagocytes. Okay, erythrocytes, these are nothing but red blood cells, and platelets. Now the third kind of cells of immune system are auxiliary cells. Okay, students. So auxiliary cells are also called as accessory cells because their main function is to help the lymphocytes in bringing about the immune responses. Different kinds of immune responses brought by the B lymphocytes, T lymphocytes, or the phagocyte cells. Okay, so these auxiliary cells help these lymphocytes in bringing about these different immune responses. Okay, and these auxiliary cells include basophils, mast cells, platelets, and antigen presenting cells. So all these are nothing but different types of auxiliary cells, or this can be also commonly called as helping cells, because as they help the lymphocytes in bringing about different immunological responses, so they are also called as helping cells or auxiliary cells. Okay, so see here, basophils, mast cells, platelets, so all these substances, okay, so they secrete inflammatory mediators. Nothing but some substances are secreted by these cells. Okay, and these secretory substances will bring a reaction called as inflammation. What is inflammation? Inflammation is nothing but a localized physical swelling where we see reddish, okay, redness, hot, and some pain. Okay, so such kind of response is called as inflammation or inflammatory response, and this kind of inflammatory response is brought by these special substances called as inflammatory mediators, and these inflammatory mediators are secreted by these cells, basophils, mast cells, platelets. They secrete these inflammatory mediators whenever the surrounding tissue is infected by harmful microorganisms. And coming to the macrophages, B cells mean B lymphocytes and dendritic cells. So these are nothing but antigen presenting cells. So they act like antigen presenting cells, means they present the antigen to the T helper cells, and then the T helper cells could able to recognize the antigens. So they act like antigen presenting cells. They present antigen to T helper cells. So Th cells means T helper cells. So students, see, these are the basophils. Just now we have seen. And these are the mast cells. Mast cells. And these are the platelets, activated platelets. So they also do the function of providing immunological responses. And these are the B cells, B lymphocytes. These are the macrophages. Macrophages are nothing but a kind of specialized cells in the immune system, okay, which will do the function of phagocytosis, okay, and they also do the function of presenting the antigen to Th cells. These are the dendritic cells. and because of these dendritic like processes, isn't it? So they are called as dendritic cells. These dendritic cells also present the antigens to the T helper cells. So this is the picture showing different cells of immune system. Once again, students, mast cells, neutrophils, macrophages, eosinophils, and natural killer cells. So these are mast cells. You know the function of mast cells as you have studied in the first year. Okay, so the mast cells produce histamine, okay, which are responsible for inflammation, isn't it? Again, this is the picture, another picture showing different cells of immune system: natural killer cells, CD8 marker cells, B lymphocytes, macrophages, dendritic cells, mast cells, basophil cells, eosinophils. Okay, so all these are different cells of immune system. Again, another slide showing different cells of immune system. Now this picture shows the skin. So students, as I mentioned earlier, so skin forms the first line of defense, isn't it? First line of defense. Skin acts as physical barrier, does not allow any microorganism to enter into our body. It is just like a wall, okay, protecting our body. So this is the skin. And you have studied about the skin, the integumentary system in your ninth class as a sense organ, isn't it? Which contains epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis, all these different layers of skin, isn't it? And it contains sweat glands, sebaceous glands, and they secrete sweat and they secrete sebum. Okay, the skin, the largest organ of the body. Coming to the different mucous membranes of different respiratory tract, urinogenital tract, isn't it? Gastrointestinal tract. So different mucous membranes also acts as physical barriers, and all these functions are discussed by us in the earlier part of this session. Coming to lysozyme, the enzyme. So see here, these are the salivary glands. So salivary glands like a parotid salivary gland, submandibular, sublingual. So you have studied about these salivary glands in the digestive system, isn't it? So these salivary glands secrete saliva, which contains this lysozyme, which has got the antibacterial nature, fights against the bacterium. And these are the tear glands. Technically, they are called as lacrimal glands, and the secretions of these lacrimal glands are called as tears. And even these tears also contain this lysozyme enzyme, lysozyme enzyme. So these are the lacrimal glands or tear glands. Now coming to the different organs of the immune system, as I already told that it does not have a specific organs. It is only the functional system. The immune system is nothing but the functional system, which has got the network of different organs. Okay, which includes tonsils and adenoids, lymph nodes, lymphatic vessels, thymus gland, spleen, Peyer's patches, okay, bone marrow, appendix. So all these organs comprise the immune system. Now let us see the organs of immune system, students. So the organs involved in the origin are giving birth to the cells of the immune system, giving birth to the cells of immune system, that is origin. Maturation of the cells of the immune system. Proliferation is nothing but the division of the cells, isn't it? So all these, so the organs which are involved in these three functions, giving birth to the cells of the immune system and responsible for the maturation of the cells of the immune system, and which is also responsible or involved in the proliferation of the cells of the immune system. Okay, so all such organs are called as immune organs or organs of the immune system. And moreover, these organs are also responsible for the formation of the lymphocytes, and especially as these are responsible for the formation of, for the origin of lymphocytes, so they are very particularly called as lymphoid organs. So what does this mean? Lymphoid organs means they are responsible for giving birth to lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are nothing but the cells of immune system. So hence these organs are called as lymphoid organs. And further, the lymphoid organs are differentiated into two types based on their function, like primary lymphoid organs and secondary lymphoid organs. So students, again, based on the function of the lymphoid organs, the lymphoid organs are further differentiated into primary lymphoid organs and secondary lymphoid organs. So what are the primary lymphoid organs? The primary lymphoid organs are the organs where the lymphoid stem cells, these are also called as progenitor cells, progenitors. So the lymphoid stem cells become mature lymphocytes or immunocompetent cells. Okay, so all such organs are called as primary lymphoid organs because These are the organs where the lymphoid stem cells become the immunocompetent cells or mature lymphocytes. So mature lymphocytes in the sense that they become antigen sensitive. They become sensitive to antigen. They become sensitive to recognized antigen. So these organs are called as primary lymphoid organs. Examples: bone marrow and thymus gland in case of mammals. In case of mammals, bone marrow and thymus gland are the primary lymphoid organs, whereas in case of birds, the bursa of Fabricius is the primary lymphoid organ, which give rise to the mature lymphocytes from the lymphoid stem cells. Okay, students. Now coming to the secondary lymphoid organs. So these are the organs where the mature lymphocytes, where the immunocompetent cells become functional cells, functional lymphocytes. Okay. So the maturation process takes place in the primary lymphoid organs, becoming mature cells. Okay. And here the mature lymphocytes transform into functional lymphocytes. So we can say that this is nothing but a kind of maturation. So there the stem cells becoming mature cells in the primary lymphoid organs, whereas in the case of secondary lymphoid organs, the mature cells become functional cells. This process is called as maturation process. Okay. So now such organs are called as where the process of maturation takes place. So the maturation of mature cells into functional cells. So such organs are called as secondary lymphoid organs. Okay. And these provide the sites for the interaction of lymphocytes. So these secondary lymphoid organs also provide sites for the cells for the interaction of lymphocytes. So they come across the antigens, they come across the harmful microorganisms. Okay. And now they become functional cells. Now these organs are called as secondary lymphoid organs. Okay. And here the lymphocytes become effector cells capable of producing antibodies against these harmful microorganisms. So the examples for secondary lymphoid organs are spleen, lymph nodes, tonsils, appendix, pairs patches of small intestine. If you see in the small intestine, in the wall of the small intestine, so some pair patches are present. Okay. And these pairs patches are also called as secondary lymphoid organs. So all these are the secondary lymphoid organs of our body: spleen, lymph nodes, tonsils, appendix, pairs patches of small intestine. Now students, if you see the pictures, so this is the bone marrow. Hollow long bones contains a substance called as bone marrow. Isn't it? Now this bone marrow is the primary lymphoid organ where the stem cells give rise to the lymphocytes, mature lymphocytes. This is the thymus gland. We have discussed about this thymus gland in the endocrine system, and exclusively in birds there is an organ called bursa of Fabricius here. Okay. So this is the bursa of Fabricius. This is a primary lymphoid organ which give rise to the mature lymphocytes. So these are the pictures of primary lymphoid organs. So this is the bone marrow which give rise to C, T lymphocytes, B lymphocytes, and even from the bone marrow, the red blood cells, white blood cells are also developed. Okay. So this is the bone marrow, the primary lymphoid organ. Coming to the secondary lymphoid organs. So this is the picture showing the secondary lymphoid organs. So here, this is a spleen. This is present in the left upper part of the abdomen, just beneath the diaphragm, in the upper left part of abdomen. This is the spleen. This is the spleen, largest lymphoid organ, secondary lymphoid organ. So this is the spleen. So this is the stomach. So here we have diaphragm. So this is the upper left part of the abdomen. Okay. So here we got spleen, the secondary lymphoid organ. So what is a spleen? So spleen is usually bean-shaped, the large bean-shaped organ present in the upper left part of the abdomen under the diaphragm. So especially this spleen contains lymphocytes and phagocytes. This spleen acts as a blood filter. It filters the blood. Okay. And spleen also acts as large reservoir of erythrocytes. So the erythrocytes, nothing but the red blood cells, are present in huge number in the spleen. So spleen acts as reservoir of the red blood cells or erythrocytes, and as well as it also acts as the burial ground or the graveyard of the old or worn out RBC. So students, as you know that the RBC lifespan is 120 days. So once the lifespan is completed, so all the old RBC, the worn out RBC, all these RBC comes to the spleen, and here the destruction of dead RBC, the destruction of old RBC, the destruction of worn out RBC takes place. Hence, the spleen is also called as the burial ground or the graveyard of old or worn out RBC. So this is spleen. The functions of spleen: acts as blood filter, acts as large reservoir, and acts as burial ground or graveyard for only old or worn out RBC. Once the lifespan is completed, now they are destroyed in the spleen. So this is the picture showing different lymph nodes along the lymphatic system. Here the spleen and here the thymus. Okay. So picture showing primary lymphoid organs and as well as secondary lymphoid organs. So this is the lymph node, students. If you see, this is the lymph node. It is almost a bean-shaped small solid structures. Okay, and all these are the cells. So densely packed B lymphocytes and T cells, and here macrophages are present, plasma cells are present. Okay, so these are the small solid structures which are usually bean-shaped. Okay, and huge number of such lymph nodes are present across the body along the lymphatic system. Okay, so these lymph nodes are the secondary lymphoid organs. So these are the small solid structures located at different points along the lymphatic system throughout the body. Especially they are present more in number in the groin area, in the armpit area, in the neck region. Okay. And what is the function of these lymph nodes? They trap microorganisms or antigens for the activation of lymphocytes. So the lymphocytes reach the lymph nodes where they come across the microorganisms and they become functional lymphocytes. So the microorganisms antigens are trapped here in the lymph nodes, and by trapping the microorganisms, so the lymph nodes provide a platform for the lymphocytes for their activation, for becoming functional. And the lymph nodes also cause immune responses. So these are the structures which cause immune responses. They immediately inflammate or swell whenever our body is infected. Okay, soon after the infection, immediately these lymph nodes will swell. They cause pain. They are inflamed. Okay, students. And finally, we have mucosa associated lymphoid tissue, which is abbreviated as MALT, M-A-L-T. So what does this MALT stand for? Mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. So we have this lymphoid tissue in various parts, especially if you see in the lining of respiratory tract, in the lining of gastrointestinal tract, and in the lining of urinogenital tract. So in this tract, we have the epithelial layers, isn't it? So here we have this special kind of tissue, lymphoid tissue, okay, which is abbreviated as MALT, or this is also called as mucosa associated lymphoid tissue in the lining of respiratory tract, in the lining of gastrointestinal tract, in the lining of urinogenital tract. We got this lymphoid tissue, and it constitutes about 50% of the lymphoid tissue in the human body. So of the total lymphoid tissue of human body, the 50% of the lymphoid tissue is seen in only these three tracts. One is respiratory tract, gastrointestinal tract, and the urinogenital tract. So the lymphoid tissue of these three tracts comprises about 50% of the total lymphoid tissue of human body. So this is nothing but the lining of the intestinal tract, gastrointestinal tract. So similarly, we have the lining of respiratory tract and as well as gastrointestinal tract and urinogenital tract, where we have this lymphoid tissue. Now, students, some previous NEET questions from this topic. So you please go through these NEET questions and try to answer these. So this topic is very, very important for NEET purpose also. So some important NEET questions are given here for your practice. You can get these questions from different websites. So please go through these NEET questions. And if you have got any doubt, you can ask me in the live chat. Okay, students? And these are the important questions for regular intermediate. So IPE questions from this topic. So these are the 2-mark questions. Define the terms immunity, immune system. So what is meant by immunity and what is immune system? Define the non-specific lines of defense in the body. So we have seen 3 lines of defense: the first line of defense, second line of defense, third line of defense, and 2 components of immune system like innate and adaptive. We'll be discussing in detail about those types in the next webinar class. Of one is specific, another one is non-specific. The third question is differentiate between mature B cells and functional B cells. Okay, so there is a difference between mature B cells and functional B cells, isn't it? And write the names of any 4 mononuclear phagocytes. We have seen a different mononuclear phagocytes such as histiocytes in connective tissue, Kupffer cells in liver, microglial cells in brain, synovial cells in the synovial fluid, isn't it? And coming to the 4 marks question from this topic, write short notes on B cells. So this is very important as far as intermediate public exams are concerned. So go through these questions. They are in the textbook. Please practice. So far we have completed the first part from the human immune system.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. It's
Thank you,
very
madam.
informative. It's very informative. Very much thank you. Like, sir, we have 2 more sessions on immunity.
Yes, madam.
Yes. So, children, please revisit the channel and recheck again all the things. And please, along with the notes, you have to draw a little bit diagrams also so that you can catch up easily. Thank you, children.
Thank you,
Thank you,
students.
sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you so much.